Hey everybody, as usual, hope you had an absolutely awesome week. Now last week I was riding the Ashton at the extremely difficult Largs rocky coastline. Now if you want to just see riding, skip to this number down below. However, if you want to know what I've changed and why, then yeah, hang around and I'll explain. Firstly, going for a full competition lightweight spec, I don't think was the right way to go. And I mentioned I was going to change some things, and yeah, I've changed a few things. So I guess the first thing is, I mentioned the stem was too long, so I've changed that to a Chartec model. This is slightly shorter, I think it's a 120 or 130 rather than the 140 I had on. So not a huge difference, but enough just to bring the reach a little bit shorter. Now because this isn't a lightweight build anymore, I've actually changed the bars because the lightweight stuff is going on another bike. So I've actually changed the carbon bars to some alloy Chartec models. Now they're not as light as the carbon bars, but they're pretty much the same shape, so it should feel similar. I really wasn't getting on too well with a front rim brake, especially with a grind. It was a bit too on-off for my liking. I couldn't modulate it. I like to be able to roll stuff, be a bit smoother. It suits my style a bit more. So I've gone for a disc brake just to make life a little bit easier for me. And because I'm not running a rim brake anymore, that means I can go back to carbon fiber rim. This is the spare wheel from my Hex with a Chris King hub, so it's nice to have that back on. Now this Chris King hub is actually a 15mm through axle, so I've swapped the forks to some inspired models. I've swapped the front freewheel for a Chris King. Now I've got matching hubs, stolen this off my spare rear wheel on my Hex. And I've got that laced up onto the Chartec rim because carbon rim and grinds don't go well together. Plus I need a wider rim to make my brakes fit. And speaking of brakes, I no longer have a V-brake on the back. By the time I'd had adapters on there, it was getting pretty tall, and this frame isn't the stiffest, and yeah, it just wasn't quite working as I liked. So for simplicity's sake, I've just gone and stuck a Magura on the back. But I do want to mention this booster, guys. This booster is from Helmetor. It's to my own design. It's a signature model and is available to buy now. We're limiting it to just 20, so if you want one, you're gonna have to be quick. Now I fitted this earlier. It's a real simple booster, super easy to fit, but you do need to get your own bolts and spacers. Now I'll link all these down below. You can get bolts and spacers easily from Tati bikes. Just not supplying it just makes it a lot easier to get this booster out. So if you want one of these, the numbered 1 to 20, hit the link down below, get your own. Tag me and Helmetor in it. I'd love to see who ends up with one. So there you go, there's a few details about the bike. Probably missed a few, but this is my third attempt at this video. I've just had super bad luck trying to get it out, so I'm probably rushing this a little bit. But you guys want to see this bike on the street. I want to ride some street. Let's see what it can do. Now I've been swapping so many bikes recently. I need to start with baby steps. I've come to these blocks, which I've ridden before, but they're quite a good thing to get used to a bike. Now one thing a long bike is good for is doing taps. The tap is where you pedal, hit your front wheel into an object, and then use that to get your upwards momentum and land on back wheel. This is a lot easier with a longer wheelbase and harder with a short. I do a similar thing on my Hex where I'd bunny hop into a tap, but this has got a long wheelbase, so it's good for taps but bad for bunny hop, so I have to pedal into it. And pedaling is a completely different technique. So I'm going to try and tap over this. James Porter, one of my favorite ever riders, used to tap rails so easily. It looks so cool. There's a good chance I'm just going to deck it on that side, but it'll be pretty funny if I don't hurt myself. That's scary. Almost. It's probably been over 10 years since I've done a pedal tap, and probably longer than that since I've done a pedal tap over a rail, so today's a good ride. I'm enjoying it. But just one last thing. I'm curious to know whether I can actually bunny hop this to back as well. Now, it is a longer bike, so it is going to be a bit harder to bunny hop, but if I can get past that initial difficulty, then the rest should fly up. Yeah, that's horrible. Oh my god, you have to pull so hard. You have to be quick with your feet. Alright guys, I confess, today's ride probably isn't the most imaginative. I'm not the most imaginative rider. I actually do struggle to think of cool, different things to do on a bike. I tend to just go out and do the same stuff over and over. I need to ride with Danny more and get more inventive. But yeah, not today. Not until I get used to the bike anyway, or get back on my Hex. The Hex is probably the better bike for that. But I've come to my standard walls where I gauge the height of stuff, and I'm curious. I've not done many side ops. This bike should be a lot better for side ops than my Hex because it's longer. I'm going to push my luck and try and get up the bigger bit of this wall. I've never side opped that before, and maybe even try some taps. First try. Happy with that. Now this wall might only be a few inches higher than that one, but it makes such a big difference. This wall suddenly looks so much higher, and I'll be honest with you, I really don't think I can side up this. Now I have actually gone and put a bit of chainstay protection on the bike to try and stop any damage, because if I don't make it up, I'm going to slide back down onto this bit of the frame, and this isn't my frame. I've got to give it back eventually, and I don't want to damage it too much. So yeah, hopefully I can make it up and not damage it at all. I really need to get tucked right down to the side of the bike like that. Nowhere near. How is that not up? Come on! It's an on-off, it doesn't count. No! Gutted. Well, I am an absolute glutton for punishment. If I can't side up it, maybe I can tap it. I'm not holding my breath. Funny thing is, I can do this on my Santa Cruz 5010 full sus bike. You ought to think I can do it on a trials bike. The bash guard on this bike is actually placed for a left-footed rider, and as such doesn't protect my chain at all with me being a right-foot rider. Oh dear, I have to keep an eye on the chain after stuff like that. I'm gonna have such bruised thighs after this one. Ow! Oh, this is cold! Alright everyone, so I'm in a new location. Filmed in Glasgow, didn't quite get enough for a full video, so I've actually come south of the border to Morecambe. And Morecambe is a place I used to ride so often when I worked at Tire Bikes. It's a great place for riding rocks, for riding street, and I've wanted to come here for a long time. Behind the camera we have a special guest. We've got my fiancée Jane, who's filming me for the very first time ever. She's wanted to do this for a while, so yeah, it's nice to have some company for a change. As you guys all know, I'm always honest on my channel, and yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I've been really struggling to ride this bike. Now don't get me wrong, I actually am pretty pleased with some of the lines I've got on this bike, but I think I've just been holding this bike in such high esteem. I know the riding I used to do on one of these, and I've been finding making this video extremely frustrating that I can't do the riding I expected or wanted to do on this bike. But this is reality. Sometimes I don't always ride how I want. Sometimes I'm not happy with the end result. I'm not going to sugarcoat everything and say everything's perfect all the time. I have had some good fun on this bike, but I've had some frustrating moments as well. That's life. I think this bike almost just doesn't quite fit into any category for me at the minute. I either want a hex for street or a lighter weight, more modern competition bike for comps, and this bike, yeah, it doesn't really fit. Having said that, the history of the bike, being Martin Ashton's design, I still have a real soft spot for it there, and if it was my frame, I'd be hanging this on the wall. I would not be selling this, but it's not my frame. I do have to give it back, so whether there'll be another video on this, I don't know. A video that will be coming is a more modern, lightweight competition trials bike. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for that, and I have built one up, and there's a video coming soon, which is going to be pretty interesting. In the meantime, let me know what you thought of this video. Go out and buy yourself a helmet or booster, go and check out my Patreon, my website, Clarkson.com, get some merch, all that kind of stuff, and I'll catch you next time. Have an awesome week. See you later. Bye bye.